house gained almost nothing last year. In much of the country, it lost ground to inflation. In Austin, values fell almost 6%. In Florida, more than 4%. Now look at the used boat market everyone keeps calling a crash. Most boats are down 20 to 40% from their peak, but not all of them. A short list of used boats is holding its value, and one of them is worth more today than it was a year ago, while the roof over your head sits flat. 7 of them beat your house. These are the numbers. Start with the thing nobody selling you a boat wants on the table. The average used boat in America right now sells for about $352,000. New boat prices climbed about 4% this year, pushed up by tariffs and part costs. And the standard boat follows a punishing curve. 8 to 10% gone the day you sign. 6 to 8% a year after that, every year until roughly the 10-year mark, when the slide finally slows to 3 to 5%. That is the boat the dealer wants you to finance. On a $352,000 boat, that first-year drop alone is close to $30,000, gone before you have run it a full season. It is also the boat filling the liquidation lots right now. Dealers are carrying floor plan debt, the loans they take just to keep boats sitting on the lot, and they pay interest on every unit that does not sell. When the market softens, that interest becomes a tourniquet, and the markdowns you see are not clearance sales, they are survival moves. The whole market has flipped from supply-starved to buyer-friendly in about a year, and the manufacturers are protecting their sticker prices, which means the real cuts are coming quietly through incentives and repossessions, not the window sticker. Whole rows of nearly new boats are moving at 20 to 40% under peak. Picture the person who financed one of those average boats 2 years ago. They now owe more than the boat is worth, and the lot down the road is selling the same hull for less than their loan balance. That is the flood the average buyer is standing in. The flip side is quieter. A soft market means real negotiating power, but only for the buyer who knows exactly where to point it. Now, the other side of the sheet. While the broad boat market bled, home values across the country went flat. The most watched national price index rose under 1% over the year, which means in real terms, after inflation, your house lost ground. One major bank expects home prices to end this year at 0 growth. 13 states are already declining outright. The typical existing home sits near $397,000 and barely moved, while the median new home actually fell close to 7%. Sellers in Texas and Florida are dropping prices the hardest, with cities like San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas leading the reductions. Foreclosure filings are climbing too, nearly 37,000 in a single month late last year, up 19% from the year before. In real terms, after inflation, the average house lost roughly 1.5% of its value. Existing home sales are falling month over month, and owners are locked in place, unable to move without giving up the low mortgage rate they would lose if they sold. So the question is not whether your house is the safe one, it is which boats did better than a flat, inflation losing house, and by how much. 7 did. One of them beat everything on both sheets. First, a warning about what does not make the list. Small boats bleed the fastest. Bow riders, little runabouts, the entry-level stuff, they lose value quickest because the market is flooded with them and anyone can buy one. Size, scarcity, and brand are what slow the fall. There are rare exceptions even down there. A Sea Ray Sundancer holds better than its class because Sea Ray moved to outboards early. But the rule stands. If a boat is common and cheap, it drops like a stone. The 7 that beat your house are the opposite of common. The first name is the one you already know, Boston Whaler. The brand built its whole reputation on a foam-filled hull that will not sink, and the used market pays for it. There are more than 1,300 of them listed for sale at any given time, priced anywhere from under $3,000 for a small, older model to over $2 million for a big new one, with the average sitting around $267,000. Cut a whaler in half and both halves keep floating. The company, now part of the Brunswick Group, has proven it on camera more than once, sawing boats apart and driving the back half around the harbor. Here is the part that matters against your house. Buying new is the worst possible move on this curve. A nearly new 2-year-old boat has already taken the steepest drop, which makes it the weakest value on the lot. A well-kept 10-year-old boat is the genuine bargain, because the deep first-year fall happened to someone else, and they ate it, not you. You inherit the flat part of the curve, the stretch where a proven hull loses only 3 to 5% a year, if that. So, a used Montauk or Outrage sits on a value floor while the market around it drops 20 to 40%. Buy the 10-year-old whaler with records, and you are stepping onto the flat part of a curve someone else already paid to climb down. Let the person buying new take the $30,000 hit in year 1. You show up in year 10, with records in hand, and step onto the floor. That is not the exception on this list, that is the pattern. And it gets sharper from here. The second name is the one the brokers trust more than any other, Grady White. Ask a boat broker which used purchase carries the least risk of depreciation, and Grady White is the answer that comes up first. The reason is not marketing. The company has been building the same way for more than 60 years, with hand-laid hulls, marine-grade stainless hardware, and its own variable dead-rise design that keeps the ride smooth in a chop. The owner base is so loyal it runs entire websites and forums just to trade advice on keeping these boats perfect. That loyalty is the value, and it works in a way most buyers never think about. When owners refuse to let a boat rot, the used ones that do reach the market are clean, documented, and scarce. Scarcity plus demand is a price floor. Grady builds them from about 18 feet up to 45. From a mid-size Freedom all the way to the Canyon flagship, and a late-model offshore Grady holds a resale number that makes the housing market look sleepy. Your house sat flat this year. A well-kept Grady did not. It stayed wanted, and wanted is what holds a price when everything around it is being marked down. That is the whole trick with these boats. You are not betting on the water, you are betting on the next buyer wanting it as badly as you did. The further up this list we go, the wider that gap gets. The third one is not a brand at all. It is a rule that decides value across every boat on this list, and almost no first-time buyer knows it. The engine? On a used boat, the single most negotiable number on the entire listing is engine hours. Cross 500 hours, and the value can drop 15 to 25% in one line. Stay under 200 hours, and the exact same model can command a 10% premium over one with more time on the clock. Same hull, same year, same paint, and thousands of dollars apart on hours alone. And the kind of engine matters as much as the hours. A clean, late model, 4-stroke outboard from a proven maker like Yamaha or Mercury is the thing serious buyers chase, because that technology lets an owner keep a boat 15 or 20 years instead of trading out. Clean, late model, 4-stroke powered boats are genuinely hard to find on the used market, and that shortage props up their price. Cheap, unproven imported motors have not earned that same resale trust yet. So a boat is not one asset, it is a hull and a heartbeat. This is where most buyers quietly lose money. They fall for a pretty hull and never read the log. Before you sign anything, pull the engine log, run the boat through a value tool like Boat Value or the Marine Guides, and price the hours, not the paint. Match a value-holding hull to a low-hour 4-stroke, and you have built something that resists the entire market. Ignore the engine, and even a good hull loses money. That single rule is what separates the next 4 boats from everything else on the water. Which brings us to the one this whole list was pointing at, the boat that is not just holding value, it is gaining it. Center console fishing boats from the top premium builders are, right now, the rare corner of this market that is appreciating. That average used boat price of $352,000 is almost meaningless without segment because the segments are splitting hard. Marine market data has fishing boats rising roughly 3.5% to 4.2%, while the yacht segment softens by 1.8% to 3.1%, and homes sit near zero. Read that against your house one more time. An entire category of boat is climbing while the National Home Index went nowhere. The sharpest example is Regulator. Regulator has become one of the most wanted premium center console names among serious offshore anglers, and late model boats sell almost the moment they are listed because there are so few of them. The strange part is the timing. The wider market this year has turned buyer-friendly. Sellers everywhere are handing over discounts to move inventory, but not on these. Limited supply, hard demand, and no reason for anyone to cut the price. That is the exact opposite of a depreciating asset. A late model Regulator bought right can be worth more the year after you buy it than the day you sign the paperwork. Think about what that means against the house. You put money into a boat, use it every weekend, and it holds or gains, while the house you were told to trust quietly slid backward against inflation, and the owner kept telling everyone real estate was the safe bet. Guess wrong on this, and you buy a tired hull with a burned-out engine that follows the market down. Guess right, and you own the one boat on the water gaining value while the house sits still. That is number one on this sheet. Everything before it holds a floor. This one climbs off it. If a channel that runs the actual auction math instead of the dealer sales pitch is worth your time, subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it keeps the numbers coming every week. Now, pull back and look at the whole market from the top, because the same story is running at the high end on the boats that cost more than the house. The fifth name proves the pattern holds even at the top of the money. Viking yachts. The yacht segment as a whole is the soft part of this market, down as much as 1.8 to 3.1%, and plenty of large boats are the derelict, left to rot, walkaway stories this channel has covered before. But Viking is the exception inside the exception. The company has been building sport fishing boats in New Jersey since the 1960s, and it is widely treated as the premier American sport fish builder. A late-model Viking holds significantly more of its value after 5 to 10 years than the boats it competes with, because Viking demand runs strong both in America and overseas. When a boat has 2 continents of buyers, a soft month in one market does not sink the price. A weak stretch in Florida gets offset by a strong buyer in Europe. That is protection no single housing market can give you, because your house only ever has local buyers. The rot stories are real. Viking just is not one of them. Now, the honest part, because the sheet has to stay honest. Nearly every boat still loses money. This is a narrow list, not a loophole. Even these 7 only beat a house when 3 things are true at once: low hours, a proven engine, and real maintenance records. Miss any one of the 3, and even a whaler or a Viking slides toward the same 20 to 40% drop the rest of the market is taking. That is not a crack in the argument. That is the argument. The reason these boats beat a flat house is that almost nobody keeps all 3 boxes checked, so the clean ones are rare. And rare is exactly what holds value when everything around it is flooding. The 6th is the one hardly anyone has heard of, which is part of why it works: Edgewater. The company was started by the former head of engineering at Boston Whaler, and it builds its hulls in a single infused piece the maker claims is 3 times stronger than a traditional layup. There are not many of them on the used market, so the ones that surface hold solid resale prices, and thin supply leaves almost no room to negotiate. A sleeper brand, a real build story, and thin supply is a value holder hiding in plain sight. While the crowd fights over the obvious names and drives those prices up, this is the one quietly matching them on the resale sheet. The person who knows the name gets the same protection with a smaller crowd bidding against them, which is the whole game when supply is this thin. The last name closes the sheet the way it opened, with a boat the whole market treats as a benchmark: Hinckley. Hinckley sits with Boston Whaler and Grady White in the small group brokers point to first when the question is resale, prized for craftsmanship, and a demand that does not fade with age. A well-kept Hinckley does not chase the market down. It sets a floor and holds it the same way the best of this list does, and that is the 7th. Not the flashiest boat on the water, the most consistent. The one that behaves the way people wrongly assume a house behaves: steady, wanted, and slow to lose a single dollar. It is the boat that quietly does the job your house was sold to you to do, and does it better this year. Step back, and the pattern is simple. It is never about the boat being cheap. It is about 3 things stacking: a hull people trust, a segment too scarce to discount, and an engine with life left in it. Where those 3 meet, the boat stops behaving like a toy and starts behaving like the asset your house was supposed to be. Miss even one, and it is just another boat in the flood. So line the 2 sheets up side by side. Your house rose under 1% nationally, lost ground to inflation, and fell outright in 13 states. Almost 6% in Austin, more than 4% in Florida, 3.5% in Tampa. The typical American home sits near $400,000 and barely moved all year, and the median new home actually fell close to 7%. Meanwhile, a Boston Whaler holds its floor, a Grady White holds the broker's trust, a low-hour 4-stroke commands a premium, a regulator can appreciate, a Viking beats its whole segment, an Edgewater hides in plain sight, and a Hinckley behaves like the safe investment a house was supposed to be. That does not mean run out and buy a boat tomorrow. It means the story you were handed, boat bad and house safe, is not what this year's numbers actually say. The leverage is knowing which 7 hold, and which 3 things make them hold: low hours, proven engine, real records, and then knowing how to buy them. Shop off season, when sellers are softest and most desperate. Look outside your own region, because the same boat in the Great Lakes can list 15% under 1 in Florida, and the transport still leaves you ahead. Run the value tools before you make an offer. Pull the engine log. Pay for your own survey. Wait for the boat that has all 3 boxes checked, at a market that is handing sellers 20 to 40% losses on almost everything else, and you stop being the victim standing in the flood. Skip that homework, sign on the wrong boat this week, and you can lose 20 to 40% the same way the rest of the market is losing it. Do the homework, and you become the one the tide works for. If you want the auction math instead of the sales pitch, the next breakdown is already on the way. That is the sheet, in plain numbers. Read it before you sign anything, on a boat or on a house.